Japan, you know, that place with the amazing cities, once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, amazing culture, and crane games. Lots of them. And I had the amazing opportunity last year to go to Japan for a month to experience as much as I possibly could. But I was super excited about one main thing: visiting the exclusive Pokemon cafes and Pokemon centers across Japan. It's no secret that I'm a huge Pokemon fan, so in my mind this is going to be heaven on earth. I can buy all the Pokemon merch that I want and end the day off by getting served Pokemon for dinner. No, seriously, you eat Pokemon for dinner. Even at these Pokemon centers, you can see exclusive Pokemon history you can only find in Japan, like how at each Pokemon center there is a different statue greeting you at the front door for that specific location. And obviously Pokemon's like a really small fraction of the things I actually did in Japan, but for this video we're only going to be talking about the Pokemon stuff, and down the road I'll talk about my entire Japan trip as a whole. Or maybe not, you can just subscribe to find out. Anyways, before I could go to all these cool places, there was one main problem: reserving the damn place. In Japan, a lot of the places you go to are based on reservation only, and with there being only one Pokemon cafe in the entirety of Tokyo and the other one being in Osaka, this thing was borderline impossible to book. You have to book the Pokemon cafe at least a month in advance, so before the trip I stayed up until like 4 in the morning to be the first one to book for the Pokemon cafe dates that fit for my trip. And every single time without fail, I would log onto the site, it would load and load forever, I would pick the spot, and it would instantly get full. It wasn't even me just having this issue. My friends that I was going with to the cafe were also trying to book this too, and none of us were lucky. After a week of staying up late and just trying this every single night, I ended up just getting someone in Japan to reserve it for me, and they seem to do it with ease, so I guess that's a solution. And this is kind of a common theme with reserving heavily desired tourist attractions, where I would just get someone in Japan to book it for me. Like the Studio Ghibli Museum, I think is borderline impossible to book if you're not there the second the tickets drop. But with everything set in motion, I was hyped and ready to go. When I landed in Tokyo, everything was amazing. From the food, the culture, and the gaping hole in the wall that this place left me, it was better than I originally anticipated. On my first few days, I met up with some friends in Shibuya, we wandered around the place, and I kind of just accidentally walked into the Pokemon Center in Shibuya. I had no idea it was even here, but it was a pleasant surprise since this one seemed to be one of the more popular ones. The statue outside of the Pokemon Center in Shibuya was Mewtwo in an incubation tank, and this one was so cool. The videos do not do it justice. This is just something you have to see with your own eyes. In this same building, right beside the Mewtwo tank, is a Shonen Jump store with a really cool statue of Monkey D. Luffy, so that was great. You can even measure your height to how tall you are compared to the Straw Hats, and I was around Zoro height, so that was cool. But since I didn't actually plan to go to these places and we kind of just ran into them, they were literally closing by the time we got there, so I didn't get to fully flesh out the Shibuya Pokemon Center, but I wasn't that sad since I knew I was going to go there in a few weeks anyways. And time flew by fast, because before I even knew it, it was the date of our Pokemon Cafe reservation at the main Pokemon Center in Nihobashi. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. And this is one of the main Pokemon centers in Japan since it combines the Pokemon Center and the cafe together. And man, beside the fact how beautiful this city was, I made it to the entrance of the Pokemon Cafe. They had such cool artwork at the front door of every single one of the starters up until Gen 8. And going inside of this building, I knew it was going to be a very good experience. They even separated the Pokemon starters by typings, and clearly the grass starters are their favorite since they got a massive wall compared to the fire and water starters, and Pikachu was just chilling with the grass starters too. When you make it to the entrance of the Pokemon Center, you are greeted by a massive statue of Snorlax and Pikachu. And on the right shoulder of Snorlax, there is Mew. Around the walls of the entrance, there is a silhouette for every single Pokemon up till Gen 8 in order, and I literally was counting them. It is in order, and it's every single silhouette. It is so cool, and the attention to detail is amazing. Our time for the Pokemon Cafe was in about an hour, so I decided to do all my shopping at the Pokemon Center first and then eat dinner after. In walking into the shopping half of the Pokemon Center, you're greeted with this amazing tribute to Pokemon with every single loading screen, every single boss fight, and even every single cartridge the games originally came in. And it was just so cool seeing a franchise that is a massive part of my life being displayed all here on this wall in a massive tribute. It was just one of the greatest parts of the Pokemon Center in my opinion. But when we finally made it in to buy merch, there was a lot. Anything you could think about Pokemon related is here. You like stickers? They got them. You like plushies? They've got more than you can even take home. This place was crazy. I also went around Christmas time, so a lot of the stuff was Christmas themed, and there's even a cool Pokemon tree with a bunch of Pokemon plushies on them. But I honestly had to just take a moment and appreciate even the simple layout of this store. It just felt great seeing all this stuff around me. They even had this pretty cool thing where every single one of the Pikachu and Eevee plushies had little different expressions, so it feels like you have a special one-to-one version version of your plush. I ended up giving in and picking up an Eevee plush since Eevee's one of my favorite Pokemons. My friend got this Pokemon book, which I think is cool, but I can't actually read it. And on the way out, there was a wall of stickers, and that was my kryptonite since I picked up a lot of them. Like seriously, I have a lot more than I know what to do with. After stepping out, you're greeted with really nice artwork of the Gen 9 Pokemon, and it was now time for the Pokemon Cafe, which was definitely my hypest part of the night. Outside the Pokemon Cafe, there was a picture of the Pikachu curry dish, and they were also promoting the Eevee dish as one of their specials of the night. When we finally made it in, there was so much Pokemon merch that you couldn't even believe it, with Pikachus with chef hats, Pokemon plates, and really cool artwork signed by the creators themselves, and the attention to detail on this art was magnificent. Then I got seated, but I didn't come alone. I came with some friends, and it was a really great time. The scenery in this location was amazing. The ceiling had a massive Pokeball, the TVs were playing Pokemon stuff, there was a lot of photos encapsulating of what Pokemon is, and it's just a Pokemon fan's dream. Then they gave us a tablet to order our food, but it was a little bit pricey, but it's a part of the experience, so we went with it, and our order came out to being over $100. But it was all worth it because for my appetizer, I ordered the Eevee Parfait, and let me tell you, this is honestly the top 3 foods I had in Japan. Yes, I know it sounds dumb that the touristy place had one of the best foods, but let me explain. When I got this parfait, I thought it was such a work of art, I didn't even want to eat my appetizer until I ate my main meal. I ordered the Pikachu curry dish as my main meal, and as we were waiting for it, one of the waiters came over with a tablet and had us play a really fun game where there's just a bunch of Pikachus on a tablet, and you just pick one and then they give you a prize.
I want the rainbow one. Oh. It's all good. See if you got lucky.
This activity was actually really fun, and I love that they actually go the extra step to make your experience so much better. But now it was time for the food, where my Pikachu curry dish came in. I actually saw a few people online before complaining about the Pokemon Cafe food, so I was a little worried about it, but when having it, I was just pleasantly surprised. The curry dish wasn't the greatest thing I've had in Japan, but it was definitely really, really good. Like, I decimated that plate. And it was really nice how under the plate it was a Pikachu dish, so you could reveal Pikachu's face when you finished eating the meal. I finally ate the Eevee Parfait too, and that was just heavenly. Even looking back on this footage, I just miss it so much. I wish I had it right now. I also thought that this was just like any other restaurant, so when I was done eating, I would leave and pay, but there's actually a whole entire show where I saw a big Gengar walk into the room. Gengar first spent some time entertaining the other side of the section, but then finally came over to our side of the section, and his performance was just amazing. The story that I basically got from this performance, since I'm not that good at Japanese, is that Gengar was just messing around with us, turning off and on the light, and its Pokemon master was just telling him to stop and making us have a good time. And I can't confirm this, but I think because we went at night, we saw Gengar, and if we went during the day, we would see another Pokemon. So if you guys go to the Pokemon Cafe, you may be surprised and have a completely different experience than me. So we checked out of the Pokemon Cafe, and I was fully satisfied with my experience. It's basically what my 9-year-old self would have wanted a few years back. And if you're ever in Japan and you're a Pokemon fan, I really recommend it. There's really something for everyone here. So we ended the night by roaming around and went to some fire karaoke, but there was still one more place that had something Pokemon related I wanted to see, and that was in Universal Studios, Osaka. And if you don't know Japanese geography, Osaka is like a 12-hour drive from where we're at, so thank God for bullet trains, because a 12-hour drive turned into a 2-hour one. And yeah, I know I said I was going to talk about my entire Japan trip in another video, but I just had to get this out of the way. Universal Studios is way better than Disney in my opinion, worldwide. Even in the US, I love Universal more, and in Japan, I definitely love Universal more. Entering Universal was like a heaven on earth spot. We were greeted with a Mario Kart parade where it's just Mario characters vibing around in parks, and there was even a Pokemon street performance, and that was just the greatest. Everyone was dancing and having a good time, and the attention to detail to that cart was amazing. Later on in my Osaka trip, I even got to visit the other Pokemon Center in Osaka I talked about earlier, and they had the legendary trio birds at the front as the statue Pokemon. They also had this really cool hologram in the building where you would walk up to it and categorize all the Pokemon by type, and it was just a really cool realistic Pokedex. I went through the electric types and picked out Jolteon, but any Pokemon that you wanted was here by typing. The love of Pokemon in this country is just so apparent, and it's wonderful. Even on your way out of the country in the airport, there are Pokemon waving you goodbye, basically telling you to have a safe journey. And the question everyone may have on their mind is, how much did I spend overall on Pokemon merch? And to be honest, I don't know the answer myself.